what did the five fingers say to the face? Slap. And that's exactly what we did to Leeds. I mean, we slapped them out of there. We got 5 goals, and we sent them home back to Leeds with the tails tucked between their legs. And that's exactly what we expected. It's what we expected to playing a newly promoted team. They learned very quickly that, it's a little bit different competition here in the Premier League. But, there was some goods, there were some bads, and there were definitely some uglies. Hola Teros, welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to another Rika Reactions. And we put 5 on them. 5 versus Leeds. That's what we wanted to see. That's what the fans wanted to see. That's what the team wanted to see. And I'm gassed. It couldn't come at a better time, especially as we have Anfield coming up. I spent yesterday in Southampton. It's a bank holiday weekend here in the UK, so I went to the pub to watch the game, and it was a great atmosphere, great experience. And yeah, I came out of there. I did my, I did the quick reaction, and then I was just buzzing. Like, people excited. Like, there's excitement. I mean, the game started with Eberechi Eze coming out, and I think it just gassed up the crowd. We started off slow, but mid first half we grew into it, and then we just didn't look back. We just did not look back, and like I said, you couldn't ask for a better result from the game than what we got yesterday. Just going to speak quickly on a little bit of the stats of the game, then I kind of speak about the lineup. But we had 17 shots in comparison to Leeds 3. That's a big improvement. We had 9 shots against Man United, so 17, big improvement. We scored 5 goals, so obviously a big improvement. And we're on a +6 goal difference and top of the league, and I think that's great. As far as possession, we had 68%, which you kind of expect against a team like Leeds. They just come up from the championship. Besides Nanto, I didn't really recognize, and Dan James, obviously. But, they're not a team that I expected to give us much trouble. And in the first half, it looks like we were just kind of shooting ourselves in the foot more than they were. And then we grew into the game, and yeah, it was great. It was great to see. There were some good bits, there were some bad bits, and then there are ugly bits, which I'll talk about later on in the video. But as far as the lineup, I went with Martinelli, and we ended up going with Madueke, which is who I really wanted to be there. I wanted him to be there against Manchester United, so I didn't think that the manager would pick him, but he did, and he looked decent. It wasn't until he moved to the right where he looked more than decent, but he's obviously a right winger who is playing left, so we kind of expect that. But I think Madueke gave us something a little bit different to Martinelli, as he actually took people on and got in some decent positions. He didn't just kind of take someone on, lose the ball, and then we're going back into defense. So yeah, I think he was all right. Timber obviously started ahead of Ben White and Timber got a brace, which is amazing. He got one from a set piece goal as well, and it's just the manager kind of made some choices, which I was like, okay, we'll see. And then we saw we had a couple injuries, so we saw Madueke come on to the right. We saw Trossard come on to the left. Odegaard went out, and we saw Nwaneri, but we also saw Max Dowman. And let me tell you, I know it's early. I'm not gonna say he's Messi or Lamine Yamal, but he's got talent. He has that. He won the penalty, which Victor Gyokeres just smoothly just bashed it into the corner. Bottom left, and yeah, he looks like a player. Max Dowman looks like a player. I just hope that we develop him, we don't overplay him, and he becomes someone who is very vital to our team. As far as the rest of the lineup, the midfield, it started slow, but we kind of grew into it. I want to start with the midfield because I think that's our biggest problem area. Odegaard went down, and Nwaneri came in, and we just seemed to tick. Like, we seemed to tick in the midfield. Zubimendi was running his socks off, And Declan Rice, had a better performance. And I think that's the thing that I was thinking when it comes to the double pivot. Zubimendi's a runner, Declan's a runner. And I think that if you had a double pivot, you can kind of switch. You run, I defend. You run, I defend. I think we can do that. And then you allow, a guy like Nwaneri or Odegaard or Eze, if he's going to play at the 10, to just have free roam to kind of create for everyone, And I think that's what you need. Defensively, fine. Another clean sheet. You can't ask for more. I don't remember much of Raya being asked to do anything. I don't think they were ever going to give us much trouble, as I said. So, you can't fault another clean sheet. Defense does what defense does. And then scoring 2 goals from defense as well. I can't ask for a better day. As far as attackers, Saka's off the mark. Gyokeres is off the mark. Madueke had a good shift. Trossard, was decent. He gives you what he's going to give you. And I think you can't ask for much. In a game where we were expected to win, we won. We won dominantly. And I think all eyes are on Anfield now, as far as kind of what we're doing next and what's going on. As far as the bad bits, the bad and the ugly kind of tie into each other. So the bad bits, it seemed in that first half when Martin Odegaard was on that we were kind of doing the same thing that we did against Man United. And he got injured, so he went down. It looks like he had a shoulder injury. And Nwaneri came on, and I think the dynamic changed. And I think that's something that people have to talk about. When Nwaneri came on, we looked like a different team. We looked like a more aggressive team. And one criticism that I've had of Martin Odegaard is he's so safe. In the first half, he had a pass into the box that he could have made. He looked at it, and then he recycled the ball back. And I think we've become used to Martin Odegaard doing that. I don't know why, because Martin Odegaard 2 years ago didn't do that. I don't know what's happened, if he has a confidence issue, if he's been trained and coached not to do that, if it's because, he's the captain and he doesn't want to feel like he's let the team down if a pass doesn't come off and, we go on the defense. But I just think there's something not right with Martin Odegaard. And then on top of the fact that he now has the injury, I don't know how severe the injury is, but he came off with a shoulder injury. It's just kind of like, I think the manager needs to help him a little bit. There's a lot of pressure on him. He's out of form. I just think that you, as the manager, you kind of have to help him out a little bit. Get him out of the limelight and allow him to regain that confidence. Not just expect him to keep going, because it's not gonna. The worse he gets, the more he doesn't perform, the more criticism he's gonna get. And I don't think that's, as a coach myself, I wouldn't want to put my player through that, whether the captain or not. I'd want to just, give them time to find that rhythm, but not at the detriment of the team. And when Nwaneri and Dauman came on, we looked different. We looked, more attacking. We look, Nwaneri, he's trying to get into the team. He's trying to compete for a place. And usually when you're a player competing for a place, you go in and you have no fear. If I lose the ball, fine. But if I make something happen, then that tick goes up for me, to get more minutes into the team. And I think that's how he kind of plays. Because he did lose the ball a couple of times. So, so does Odegaard. I'm not going to act like Nwaneri was perfect. But he also, every time he receives the ball, he's thinking, I'm going to run. I'm going to run forward. I'm going to run forward. And this team that we have here, I don't think is built for that sideways passing. We've got so many dynamic players now, especially with Eze coming in, that we need to go back to how we were 22-23, just killing off teams. We get the ball in their half, we just go forward and blitz. And we saw it with Victor Gyokeres' goal. It was a diagonal pass into Gyokeres, and Gyokeres could have passed it. He could have recycled it back. He said, no, I'm taking on the fullback. Took him on, scored a goal. That's what we need to see. And I think that sometimes having Odegaard on the field, we don't see as much of that, because I think people are afraid to lose the ball and just not have progressive passing, not make the right decision. I think sometimes you just need to let football happen to you. You don't need to overthink it. Just let football happen to you. As far as kind of everything else is the bad bits, I think that was pretty much it. You can't fault a clean sheet. You can't fault 5 goals. We can still score from set pieces. We can now score from open play. And you need all of that if you're going to Anfield. Now, the ugly bit, Bukayo Saka. Bukayo Saka scored a goal, was looking good, and he went to go play a pass. He immediately grabbed his leg, and then he went down a little bit later, probably a minute or so later, and he was holding a hamstring. And I think as an Arsenal fan, that's not what you want to see. You don't want to see the star boy injured. But even worse, you don't want to see him holding the hamstrings that basically kept him out last season. And if you're an Arsenal fan, you're like, you're having such a good game. We're beating this team, and your captain and your best player, your star player, come off. It's not what you want to see. However, I will give credit to Mikel Arteta and Andrea Berta, because even though he came off, we replaced him. And, Arsenal fans are sad he came off, but it wasn't like last year or the year before where he comes off and you're just like, oh, God, we're going to play somebody out of position. Madueke went in there and he looked good. Dauman was playing some what looked like right wing. Like, we've reached the point where we're happy that we have people that we can actually bring off the bench and say, yeah, man, we lost Saka, that sucks. But we're not going to lose too much time. He's not going to be as good as Saka, but we're not dropping 3 levels. We might drop a half level, maybe 1 level, but we're not dropping 3 levels and putting somebody out of position and hoping for the best, even against Leeds. And I think that's what we had in the past. So I got to give credit to the manager. I got to give credit to the sporting director for building a team and giving additions to the team that when these injuries happen, because they will happen, unless you have just a super perfect season, injuries are going to happen, and it's not something that you account for. But what you can do is prepare for it, and I think that's what we're finally doing. I think that's what we did with the Havertz injury. Havertz goes down. All right, let's pull the trigger. Let's get someone in, and we did. So it's glad to see. It's refreshing to see that we are actually kind of being proactive, and we actually have the talent to bring off the bench to help us out when we have those big players go down. But I mean, I'm with every Arsenal fan. I'm hoping that it's just a little bit of soreness, because he did have the operation. He did have some pain in the hamstring. I'm hoping that it's, maybe we kind of go until the international break. Maybe he sits out to then and then he comes back. But we don't want to see Bukayo Saka going down. And we don't want to see our captain going down. Whether he's out of form or not, I don't want to see Martin Odegaard going down. But it's the ugly part of the sport, and I'm just hoping that we can recover. And we have some news. I'll be back later on in the week, and hopefully we'll have some good news about Odegaard and good news about Saka that we'll talk about before we get into the Anfield game. But one thing I will say, in closing, is I don't think that these injuries make me any less optimistic for Anfield. And that's a testament, as I said, to Arteta and Berta, that, even though we don't have 2 of our key players, I still think we can go in there and go at them. Their defense looks shaky. Yes, we have to deal with, Ekitike and Salah, but I'm backing us. Even Calafiori, I think, looked a little bit better. Like, I'm backing us, and I think we can get a result at Anfield, even without Saka, even without Odegaard. If you play Wanyeri, if Eze is fit, I think we go in there and get a result. And if we do, I got to give 100% credit to Mikel Arteta. I have to give him credit. I'm not just going to sit here when he does poorly and criticize him, and then when he does something right, say, yeah, it's the player. No, it's the manager. It's the manager as well as the players, and I got to give him credit going both ways, or else we're not being fair. So, credit to Mikel Arteta. And another thing I will credit him for, now that I'm thinking about it, is the fact that he made early subs. We were up. He knew that we won the game, and he didn't just sit there like he did last year and wait till 70th minute to start bringing people off. Oh, we're up. We got a couple injuries. All right, let's rotate people out. Let's give Max Dauman some time. Let's give Trossard let's give these guys some time to play the game, to get match fit, because we don't know when we're going to need them. We're going to need them in the Cups. We're going to need them in the Champions League. We're going to need them through the season. So we're up. This game is over. Let's get these guys some playing time. And I think he's evolved a little bit in that aspect. So I'm very happy with that. And yeah, just bring on next week. I'm gassed. As you can tell, I'm gassed. I can't wait for Liverpool. And just bring on Anfield. Bring on Anfield. I'll see you guys later on in the week. Take it easy. Have a good one.